Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Rivalz Race Chat, show 300. I didn't think we were going to make it, bud, but here we are. How you doing?
I didn't think we'd make it to 4.
Well, I was pretty sure we'd get through the first month, but we're going on like a lot of months now.
Yeah, what was the date of show number 1?
That's trivia. Where's Wes or Tyler or Fran or Spencer when we need them? Someone will show them. Spencer's checking. Someone will pop up. Take a guess, Adam, before we find the review. Any guess when our first show was?
I think it was September 2019.
I was going to say August of 2019.
I've got it.
So I don't think we waited right till the end of the year. It was near the end of the year, but I don't know. We'll see. For all we know, it could be like 2022 January. We're like, wow, we were way off. But
yeah.
Either way,
the year's all...
as much as we frustrate each other sometimes, this is therapy for us. Sometimes it's frustrating. Sometimes it's exhilarating. But I think the biggest message, we appreciate everybody hanging out with us on Tuesdays, and the messages you send and the comments you give us kind of keep us going through on the long days. So we appreciate that.
Absolutely true.
To get a message from someone like Glenn Butt today, congratulating us on a 300 show out of the blue, it's just really cool that longtime veterans of the sport are hanging out with us on Tuesdays and helping us keep things on the right path, because the sport needs all the help we can get. And like we like to say, trying to turn into a 52-week sport up here. And how we do that is by talking about it every week and keeping it in the front of the mind.
What is the date, Spencer? I hate it when it comes right.
August 14th, 2019, he said. I knew we had a couple weeks in before the season ended because we were getting the gambling going, and then we fell into the pandemic not too long after it. And I think this show did a good deal keeping us through the pandemic. We met a lot of new people. We went to a lot of new races and, covered a lot of stuff. Back then we were talking a lot about Knights of Thunder Action Sprint Tour, which we re-announced yesterday is coming back. So we'll talk about that a bit later in the program. We have one guest joining us tonight. We do ask a bunch of people, but some folks had to cancel last minute. Other stories we just couldn't get to yet. And some things aren't 100% confirmed, so they didn't want to come on and talk about it just yet. But we're happy that we can be that outlet as soon as we do know. Who we do have coming on, though, is the Chaz.
Can we shit talk him before he gets here?
Yeah, we're going to anyways. Now, for those who don't know Chaz, he is I don't want to get too much into Chaz because we've still got about 10 minutes before he comes on, and we'll kind of lead into him. But Chaz is an interesting character, I guess you could put, in the North American dirt track racing scene.
He's kind of the shock jock of motorsports media.
Yeah.
He does a lot of really good things. He does a lot of really good things, but he leads with the dramatic, right? Where a lot of people try to take the edge off of the drama, right? And deal with facts, and he goes the other way and does some clickbait type things. And I will bring that up to him, the clickbait stuff, because I still don't know what he was talking about when he talked about the bullying that was going on the Tulsa shootout broadcast. Yeah,
and I'm still not sure if he's a fan of Larson or against Larson. But either way, and I was going to say, to add to what you said, yeah, Chaz sparks some fires. He pours gas on other ones. But ultimately, I think he's trying to raise the rhetoric, the amount of talking stuff going on, keeping us in the forefront, kind of like we do. But he does it with his own style. And we've come to know Chaz. He's been on the show a few times. He actually came up to Ush Weekend's Outlaw show last year and got a first-hand look at Ush Weekend, so we're glad to see that. And we'll talk with Chaz. He's in a bit of a workout program now. He's trying to work on a super late model ride. I believe that's going to be on the dirt, so we'll talk to him about that. He did drive Andrew Smith's Sportsman up here in the Northeast a couple of years back, so he has been behind the wheel, and we'll talk to Chaz a little bit about that. I want to talk to him about, he had Tony Stewart on, and he's kind of gotten into the deep end of the pool with some serious stuff. Recently, he's had, I believe, both Hoosier reps and American Racer reps on to talk about
Yep.
tires. So we'll talk to him a bit about that. I'd like to get his opinion on the Rope-A-Doper. If you don't know that, that's the new tire sniffing machine that laser tests tires. And
Yeah.
I'm excited about that too. We're gonna buy one. I told James
The,
Little who met sending me. I said if it's under $5,000, we're getting one.
the neat thing about what the Chaz does is in his realm, like he is pretty fixed on sprint car racing. Chili Bowl's a big deal with him. But with that type of racing right now, it gets you all the way to Kyle Larson, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell. You know what? Tony Stewart. It being in that relatively narrow lane, it's a great time to be in that lane because you go all the way to the top of the sport. And he's able to get those people because they know who he is.
Tulsa Shootout's on there. We'll talk a bit about that. Obviously, a story with Jet Yantis being disqualified after a big week, like 2,000 entries. It's insane. If there was ever a question about the future of dirt track racing and are we going to make it, the Tulsa Shootout says, hell yeah, we are, because you got literally thousands of kids and entries there going at it. People from all ages. We'll talk a bit about that. We got some screenshots about some of the drama that went on there too. Other than that, news today, NASCAR let Phelps go, or Phelps left NASCAR. I think.
Well, the announcement is Phelps stepped down, stepped away from his role.
Yeah, I think everybody felt it was necessary, right? The only way you come out after those texts and that is they needed a change. Some of the names I saw kicking around, obviously it's just internet bullshit, but obviously Dale Earnhardt, Tony Stewart are names kicked around to take over. I think it's gonna be more of a corporate guy than those guys, but they could maybe bring the magic back. But the name I heard today, Adam, that really struck me as interesting was Mark Martin. Someone posted Mark Martin, NASCAR needs you more now than ever, and I was like, wow.
What NASCAR needs is Dana White. Like, geez, the fact that they keep talking about old names of people, the heyday is gone. Right? Nobody hired Hulk Hogan to bring wrestling back to its prime. They found different lanes. They went to Netflix. They figured things out. You need someone who's tomorrow, not yesterday. But if you need an ambassador, like Mark Martin, a very well-respected person. All these people are fascinating to me. But do you know why that is, Clint? I'll tell you why. Because they were people before they were NASCAR stars. They made names for themselves and then went and raced NASCAR.
Yeah, but you could say that about anybody who's famous. If you watch biographies like I do, that's probably the biggest thing I watch is people's life stories. And everybody worked their way up and paid their dues at some point before. Dana White was doing shit before he was Dana White.
So, Keelan Harvick is paying his dues. He's serving his dues. His dad's connections are paying his dues. Just like Chase Elliott, just like Ryan Blaney. Their dad's connections are paying their dues, even though they're turning thousands of laps. These kids are Joey Logano is the perfect example. Someone who had zero personality when he got to NASCAR. He was just a robot designed to win races.
But are we talking about talent and driving? Or are we talking about management? Who's going to run the sport? So
what I'm
back to the point at hand was, okay, finish what you're trying to say.
We love some of these names because we're drawn to them, because they have so much rich history, because they came and raced in our backyard in 1983 and we remember it and it struck us. We don't have that anymore. Those days are gone. Build new days. Use those people to do something. Build new days. Figure out the trouble with the sport is it is uber elite. It is F1 level elite. You don't get there on talent. And I can't think of another mainstream sport that is like that.
No, but that's a given. That's a given here in racing. Let me get back to why I think someone like that could be good, okay? I don't think we're trying to relive the Magic days. I'm looking at it from a perspective of someone who's a veteran in the sport, who's lived every aspect of it, who's made it to the top, who's bought into a team, who's gone through all the things, who listens to the fans. I get it. It would be a fancy, flashy figurehead, but some of them probably bring some real,
There
mustard
should be a,
to the sandwich
yeah,
here to make it work. So,
there should be a council.
council,
Put them
no.
on the committee.
Dude, you're the
But
first
I'm
one to
saying,
tell me club racing is bullshit, and it's the worst thing you could ever do. I try to get
so,
opinions when I run the shit here at like the Ice Sprint Tour.
it's
The
brutal.
worst thing I ever did was ask for opinions. I found you just got to make a path. You got to believe in your path, and you got to set the path, and you got to go for it. Throw it out there.
True. But
on the other
as
hand,
I say,
the feedback of the Action Sprint Tour did make us change course a bit, and on the rebuild, we revamped it and listened to what they had to say.
yep, learn from the past, but don't try to recreate it. You need a visionary.
I think I'll give you that, but I think the last thing the sports need is somebody coming in from the outside with no racing history and more cockamamie ideas and more gimmicks. We need someone who can bring the pureness of the sport back in some way to get back to where we were. And I don't know what that answer is, but
what if Red Bull came along and said, we have a blank check for you, but our promotional team is coming up with your events. Any amount of money you want, but we're going to create shit that people actually want to come and see. You can still run your races.
It sounds exciting because Red Bull is exciting, right? But again, you're turning the sport over to gimmicks, man. As long as they don't mess with the in-the-ring product, as we used to call it, that's what I feel at Oshweekend. Our in-ring product, if you're referring it like a boxing analogy, our in-ring product at Oshweekend is knockout fights every Friday. We bring the best. Where we've tried to work and still need to be a lot better is our out of the ring. What goes on in the grandstand area? What happens around the match is what we have to figure
the
out.
Experience. The fan experience. But
so Red Bull could do that, but that isn't what's pissing the fans off, though. What they're doing in the parking lot before the races at these events, and I mean, I've been to Daytona and Talladega myself twice in the last 2 years. What's going on in the parking lots isn't what's costing the fans. That's not what's pissing the people off. It's the on-track product. It's the in-the-ring battles that have people frustrated.
The races are better than they've ever been. Ever. You go back to the 1980s, there were drivers that won races by a complete lap. Don't tell me that
the parity is much better now, for sure.
But creating that cost a lot of the uniqueness of some of the storylines, right? To take people who were pioneers, who were visionaries, and they've muzzled them. Who was talking to me about that? Crew chiefs. Someone of significance said to me, crew chiefs are almost more cheerleader now than they are brilliant. Just keeping all the pieces together and all the pieces flowing of what the engineers create and what they need their drivers to do. But for NASCAR, something as big as NASCAR, they do not need to. I love Mark Martin. I love Kenny Wallace. Love all these people. They don't need them to cement the future. They need someone who's locked into Wall Street, who's locked into Fortune 500, and who can build those bridges.
They heard from Adam to fix from NASCAR. Let's bring on the Chaz now. We don't want to waste any of his time. Chaz, let's try and keep these answers short because we got a long way to go, and I know we got a lot of stuff to get through. Let's play a little bit rapid fire. What's the answer for NASCAR? Who runs NASCAR going forward?
I think the industry, I guess, is wanting Dale Jr. to do it, right? I mean, that's what they keep pushing. I don't know. Maybe a conglomerate. Maybe they want more than one person at the helm. I honestly don't know. I heard Adam there with a Wall Street guy, or bring in like a Trump character, I guess. It's all about the business and the money and all that. But I think they thought they had that with Phelps anyway. So I don't know. I mean, I think they're gonna try to go. They're gonna try to get a representative that represents, I think, some of the old school mentalities of NASCAR to try to bring the old fan base back. I think that's what they're gonna go with, something along those lines. That's because that's what they feel like they've been lacking or missing, or now they're going back to the Chicagoland. And, they're trying to bring back the old stuff. So I would picture it to be somebody who's going to represent that, the olden days.
And keep in mind, they're not replacing Steve Phelps. That position is not going to be filled moving forward. That position disappears, which is fine. Call someone a commissioner, but the title doesn't matter so much as the fact that someone's at the top of the heap directly under the France family that's able.
Well, I mean, that's kind of odd, to be honest. I mean, you look at commissioners in all the other sports; they get replaced when one gets let go. I mean, they're trying to be like these other sports. I mean, you would think they would try to replace that position. I didn't know they weren't replacing it. I'm sorry, I didn't look into the NASCAR thing too much, but I heard or saw the situation with Phelps being gone. But that'd be odd and kind of I don't want to say dumb, but I mean, there's commissioners in all these other sports that they're trying to be like. So, and when they lose one or get rid of one, they get another. So that's kind of odd to personally.
Yeah, I agree. I would think so. I think I read that in Matt Weaver's story.
Yeah. Chaz, we didn't bring you here to talk NASCAR, though. It is Tulsa Shootout, Chili Bowl season around.
Yes.
You've been there. You've been kicked out of there for different reasons. Let's talk. How do you feel about the Tulsa Shootout? What was your takeaway from the past week? Crazy entries. I don't know. You probably didn't catch Bean's show. We were talking about, the health of dirt track racing sure looks good if you look at the daddy's money and the entries and the future of the sport that they pack into the Tulsa.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of people in there that aren't daddy's money too. You got a lot of people in there who aren't. There was people actually joking about that the shootout needed the Chaz. I didn't attend in person this year, but because the coverage was so leaning towards the clique, as I described in one show, the flow conglomerate. And I even got some messages from people within the sport and said, that's perfect what you said, that there's all these things happening. There's a lot of people who are upset with how media coverage is now. But yeah, there was some daddy's money in there, and the daddy's money ran well. I mean, Hutchinson was probably the most impressive victory. You had I guess the bigger story that came on the backside of it all was Yantis. With the illegal situation getting DQ'd, and then he got a lot of, I guess, public hate and all that. I mean, I kind of said that's good if he's going to be a future star of the sport. Get used to it, get used to a bunch of people hating on you for the right or the wrong reasons. But the 55-lap main event, I guess, was pretty lackluster. It didn't really move around a lot, which most people would assume that it would have. But, I mean, I was off running a mini stock, an hour away from the shootout. So, I mean, I watched it on the phone, obviously, but I wasn't there in person. So, I don't know. I mean, I feel like everything was great except for Saturday a little bit. I think it was a little lackluster. I mean, it kind of sucks that, Larson made his mistakes that he did to not give us a good showing in that race. So, I mean, I feel like the build-up, everything else besides the Saturday mains was really good, but then the Saturday mains came along, and I mean, it's kind of what happens at Chili Bowl as well. I mean, the qualifying nights are amazing. The B's and C's on Saturday are great, but you get into the A, and everybody's so good that nobody really moves around and passes much, and they typically rework the track, and it's a dyno session for the first half, and then it widens out, and then maybe you get a race. So kind of the same story for both of those events. I guess last year it was a kind of different story with the berm happening. In the midgets in the Chili Bowl. But I don't know. We'll see what the Chili Bowl has until. I mean, obviously there's a lot of entries, but obviously there's a lot of favorites that, are just in the right combination. Your Larsons, your Seavies, your Tanner Thorsons, the Persley's going to be there. A lot of those guys are just going to be contending for the win. It's always really what's fun to watch about both of these events, more so the Chili Bowl because we already have established names. Shootout's kind of a display race where we don't know who they are, but there are fast guys. The Chili Bowl, the fun part about that is trying to see who is the shocker of the event. You know, who's the one guy or two guys that win a qualifying night, like Hank Davis a few years ago happened, you know, and some other guys that just show up and run extremely well that nobody saw actually coming. I think that's more so what's impressive about the Chili Bowl event, or what's fun to look and see and look forward to in the Chili Bowl, is to seeing the people that we don't see coming running well. Does it matter as much? You know, like today's world, you know, a lot of people think if you go to the Chili Bowl and you run well, I mean, traditionally that meant you were a national star now. You're going to be in an outlaw car or full-time midget ride. You know, if you go there and perform well, that put your name on the map. I don't know if that carries that same type of weight anymore, but I guess all we can do is see what happens.
I'll tell you, I was really pleased for the Tulsa shootout for the crowd they put in there on Saturday.
Yeah, it's impressive. It hasn't been like that for a while.
And that's
forever,
to me,
actually.
cool.
Sorry. Yeah.
I want to get to the media thing, Chaz. You mentioned, you know, about the flow click, and you made a post about it. Well, what is the situation, in your opinion, that we may be missing or some people may not be catching up?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. I mean, you could see a certain number of drivers who are, you know, within the flow click or is tied to a NASCAR driver's name, or or is associated in some way with NOS, you know, like this NOS flow NASCAR kind of circle. And then you could maybe throw in the Coons operation, like Toyota drivers or something like that, maybe. But it's happening. I mean, I remember it was the heat race. The guy won the heat race at Shootout this last week, and they're interviewing the winner. And then he gets like 30 seconds, and then they turn the camera to the guy who finished second, and it was one of their Braxton Flatt, which he's fine. He's a great driver, a future star or whatever, but he was like a pit reporter for him, so they checked in on him, but then he got like 2 or 3 or 4 minutes, you know, and it's like, isn't winning the heat race supposed to be the big deal, the high point getter, you know, instead of just like, why is there favoritism in media coverage? And I was reached after that video. I was reached out by people at the building, people in the sprint car scene in California who are very upset at the clique that they see developing out there with Narc and Brad and Kyle now with Flo. They're upset about that because they see the same tentacles. Some actually very powerful people are upset at what I'm pointing out here. Because it's not just happening at the shootout. It's happening in all divisions. And mainly with the Flow conglomerate, because they have tentacled into so many different things with their coverage, you know, different sectors of the sport, especially in the sprint car world. The sprint car world's already clicky to begin with, and now you got money and streaming involved with groups. And it's just, that's what people are seeing. That's what I kind of just said. And there seems to be a decent amount who agree with it, you know. Even me getting kicked out could be a situation where, you know, I pointed out a clique member, you know, Kyle Busch. Once again, I think if you've got stardom, you're already in it because everybody's just trying to get into the stardom with you. But you could say that fell in the same category. Like if it was somebody else, there probably wouldn't even been a provisional. There probably wouldn't even been something to talk about. But since that person's within that little circle or that a privileged group, you know, now it's a problem. So, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they got the companies, they run everything, but you kind of want, and I think a lot of people in racing, even though we're never going to get to a point where, you know, all the best drivers go to NASCAR and all this, at least with the sport we got, you would think that it would be at least fairly judged based on the divisions or the successes of people, instead of favoring, you know, once again, somebody who finished second more than somebody who won, just because of who they're associated with.
Who does that fall on, though, Chaz? Is someone directing this in their ears? Or does this fall on the team of reporters in the pits and who they think is the story? Like, it could be unintended consequences or someone who's not making decisions like Clint, you're the person on the scene,
Yeah,
right?
I just want to jump in before we throw it over Chaz, and
I
because
could see how the people
I
doing it don't even see that they're doing it. I could see that.
no, and I think even me as the reporter on the scene, you tend to gravitate to what you know. So if I
Right.
know the story about that guy, I'm going to talk more about it, whether I like them or not, because there's some people I don't actually love that we have to deal with in this sport, but they still have
Right.
great stories. So even if
Yep.
I know the story, so it could be that. And the other thing is, how do you spread love among how many 1,200 entrants? But I see what you're saying. After
Right.
the race, it should be results based and that. But
Hang on,
let's not harp too much about that. I was gonna say switch over to Chili Bowl thoughts, but go ahead, Adam.
Alvers. The Big O is Oswego Speedway in New York, not Michigan. Tell me what the Big O in Michigan is. I'll tell you you're wrong, but I'll already tell you you're wrong. No, Chaz, I want to talk about the bullying because I watched all week long, and it obviously struck a chord with you. Was it Earl that was getting bullied? Like I was trying to figure out what you were talking about.
Well, it just seemed like at least it did seem like for some reason or another they did tone it down after that post that I made. Like the next day, the rest of the week, it wasn't as obvious. It was more jokingly. I don't know. I just felt like they were how the communication was. You could almost hear like an undertone issue. It sounded like there was an off-camera situation between a few people and potentially Earl or there's clicks within the clicks. You got these buddy systems within you got a 10-person crew, for instance, say for Flow, and not all 10 are going to be buddies, but hey, 4 or 5 of them may be buddies and 2 others may be buddies, and then 3 or 4, so they got these little, you got sub clicks within the click, if that makes any sense. So I don't know. It just felt like they were just, unjustifiably going at him every chance, talking this or talking that or pointing this out or pointing that out. And it didn't seem like at some points it was funny, like everybody was in on it. And then some points it just seemed like it was double downing and nobody was laughing type deal,
Sure, it's a fine
Um,
line,
yeah,
which
it is
we dance.
right, right, right. It is a fine line. But I mean, when I made a post about it, there were people in there commenting saying they saw the same things, or felt the same way. So I wasn't alone in thinking, damn, they're on him, a little more than they might should be or something, And then the actual guy that I was talking about from Skagit wasn't Blake Anderson. It was their main announcer guy, but I can't remember his name. Caleb Hart, I think, actually. And they were
Okay.
just on him all the time. It was insane. But then, like I said, once I made my post, a bunch of comments, it seemed like they stopped or it lessened. But yeah, I could get it. I mean, and the problem with the shootout is it's the worst as far as media member in the world. It's the worst thing to have to cover or work. It is the worst thing in the world. I mean, you got heat races from 9 a.m. and there are races from 9 a.m. to midnight every single night, basically, for 4 days straight. And you got to be there. If you're a media guy, you got to usually be there an hour before, hour and a half before. And then you got to
Mm-hmm.
be there at least a good 30 minutes after. So, I mean, and then you got to go to sleep sometime. When's that going to happen? So, but it was the first day. It is what it is. I mean, it's just something I noticed. Some other people noticed it. Um, Maybe it was rare for that scenario because there was, 4 or 5 people, I guess, technically involved in the broadcast, how they were rotating people. So who knows? It could have been just numbers that made it come across that way. It may not even been that way. Once again, they may not know what they're doing sometimes.
No,
All right,
and
one
it's
last
all
one
good.
for
I
you.
wasn't. I
Go ahead,
wasn't
Adam.
disagreeing. I just wanted to get some clarity because, as I say, we pick on each other something fierce. We go easy on Clint sometimes because he's really bitchy some nights, and we know to go easy on him.
Right.
But with Greg and I, we're savage.
Let's talk Chili Bowl, Chaz. For some of the Canadian fans and our viewers up here who may not be up to speed on the whole Chili Bowl thing, what are the storylines leading into it this week, and maybe a name or two outside of the brackets that people should keep an eye on?
Well, obviously, you got your Larsons. You got I'm pretty sure Christopher Bell. I believe I saw his name on the list. He's always been very strong. Logan Seavey. a name to hit. Tanner Thorson, Dason Pursley, somebody who's finished second a couple times, and the system's behind him now. It's kind of interesting to see the system kind of support a guy. He got the KKR ride with a high limit, and he's been a slow rise, but everybody's always positive. That's why I say the system's on your side. There's never, no negative light is shown, which there may not be. I mean, Dason Pursley's a good guy, but it definitely, and they've already released some clips of how are you going to do this year, and did an interview with him about how he's going to do in the Chili Bowl this year. So when I see stuff like that, that's making me think for sure he's going to be playing for the lead or the win in some capacity. So I think Pursley's going to be a factor. Then you got just a slew of sprint car guys. I'm pretty sure Justin Peck is off in there. Some very competitive wing drivers. David Gravel is not there. It sucks that the midgets or Chili Bowl isn't like a full blown winged outlaw style guys showing up and racing. You have some outliers in a way. Briggs Danner, I think, is an outlier. Steven Snyder Jr. These are two PA guys that are relatively young in their career. They got non-wing and wing experience. I think Steven Snyder Jr. was actually the 410 Rookie of the Year, voted by the Sprint Car Hall of Fame, because he did some very impressive things this year, this last year, I guess, 2025, in the wing division. So. Outside of that, you got some midget guys. You got your Tanner Thorsons, you got your Jonathan Beesons, who won a driller at the shootout. And then you got a lot of young guys that everybody is trying to get behind, but they kind of don't have much of a name. They stay on that national midget scene, and they don't really get a lot of spotlight in today's world. So they kind of stay underneath it. I think Kel Drake's one of those names. Just a bunch of guys, a bunch of guys in the midget scene that off the top of my head, I can't think of, just because that's how far off the midget scene is. I can think of non-wing guys like Kevin Thomas Jr. I've already mentioned Thorson, but it's a strong field, but it's always fun to see who's going to surprise. Once again, there's a name I'm not even saying that's going to run well and potentially win a qualifier night, and it is going to be news. It is going to be interesting, and the only thing that I think is a little negative about the Chili Bowl this year now is it seems like it's kind of late in the year, and maybe this is just media and streaming getting better. I feel like the Chili Bowl success is very short now. Not only is streaming, I think, making a lot more late model and sprint car fans visually to watch, but the late models, they're running Wild West Shootout the same weekend. And then, the World Outlaw Late Model Series kicks off their championship season the following week. And then the week after that, Florida's full throttle. And I think Chili Bowl success is still a thing for the people who respect it, obviously. But due to the lack in, general coverage of midgets, and then some of the stars like your Gravels, your big time sprint car stars not going, Sammy and Steve and all those guys going to the Chili Bowl back in the day, I think made it a bigger deal. I don't know if Chili Bowl success really has the duration that it once did in a way, but it's hard to bet against Kyle Larson. Of course, the building's on his side. So
I cheer for whoever's driving for Brian Dunlap. I enjoy watching him. I love how much he loves that event. That's all he does. That's the only racing he does through the year is that one event. So, do you know who's driving for him this year?
I don't. Was Casey Schumann there for a minute? Yeah, and who else? He drove it one time. We could pull up the entry list real quick if you want. To see it's a 32 car. I know the exact car that's green. It's that Wits Racing Parts.
Yeah. But the one point I want to make about the Chili Bowl, I think, without being disrespectful to race fans, I think there's a lot of people that probably don't realize there's midget racing all year long, all summer.
Oh, yeah.
They just think that there's a winter event. When the summer comes, you jump into big cars. There's people who specialize in this kind of driving. This is what they do, whether it's a stepping stone or whether it's something you spend your career in. But
and I think the issue once again, I think the issue or the reason that's happening is simply because the midget scene has become it transitioned into a stepping stone in NASCAR. That made it very monetarily gainable. It never increased in payouts, really. And, you know, the people going there paying, 300, rumored to be or confirmed 300,000 a year to compete, And why would you do that if you're a career dirt track guy when you can go run sprint cars for less than most of the time, for sure, if you're going to operate or if you can race your way into the series? Or into the series that pay more. I would say that a 360 driver probably makes more money annually than a successful midget racer, and they're not going to spend $300,000 in competing that single year. So that's why this Chili Bowl comes around. The reason it gets the attention, I just pulled up the list. Monday night you got Kyle Larson. I mean, this is just Monday. Kyle Larson. Got Nick Hoffman in there, World Outlaw late model driver. I mean, it's the drivers that bring these people in here, and brings the eyes and the attention. I mean, you got Justin Peck on Monday night. The 32 Gary Taylor. It's just. Sorry, it's following up with the who's driving. I'm pretty sure it's Gary Taylor who's running a Dunlap's car there. That's why I mentioned him. But you just got a list of drivers. Everything from Roger Crockett to Sammy Swindell, Jason McDowell. I mean, the list is Ryan Timms. That's somebody who's a sleeper after what he did this year. He's not even a sleeper, really. I mean, he raced midgets full time. But as far as it's Kyle Cummins, I would think that would be another name. But as far as the situation, with midgets running all year long, it used to get more attention because it was more so one of the destination series, especially if you wanted to go to Indy. You would go run the midgets. You'd go run non-wing sprint cars. You'd go run Silver Crown. You'd run for the Triple Crown to get an Indy opportunity. And I think it was a landing spot if you wanted to be a professional race car driver in dirt track racing, not just to go to Indy. It just don't have that anymore. I think that's the big deal. And so it doesn't garner the names that people want to see. It garners rent-a-rides. And nobody wants to see a bunch of kids try out for NASCAR. They want to see the best dirt track racers in the world. That's why the late models are so successful. That's why the sprint cars are so successful. When you're watching those races, these guys ain't hoping that a NASCAR team sees them. They're there to win that race and be the champion this year. It's serious for them. They're not here to use a super late model to attract a ARCA team. That's not the goal. And the fans know that. The good thing and the bad thing of social media is they're informed. And I guess the bad thing is they can complain about that information that they have as well. So, I mean, information is kind of the combatants of midgets full-time racing and attention and respect. But, yeah, just pulling up the entry list. Like I said, the Dunlaps got Gary Taylor in there. But every single night, you just have names that are recognizable across all forms of the sport. Ricky Thornton Jr., we mentioned late models. We already talked about Nick Hoffman.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm just saying it's an impressive list. I know y'all got more things to go to, so
we're gonna get you back after Chili Bowl, Chaz. Appreciate you taking the time. Everyone needs to follow Long Live the Chaz because you lead with the dramatic, and if people don't have hours to research and listen and watch, go visit your pages, watch your socials. You're going to get the Cole's notes, and you're going to get the most exciting stuff first.
We'll try, and even we're mixing in racing this year. We're going to be running a super late model down in Florida. We're in the gym today to lose the weight to make that happen. So, that'll be cool to get on the track too. Instead of just talking about the field, the action on the field, actually getting out there and mixing it up. That'll be entertaining, I think, as well this year. But we're still going to continue to talk and get to the bottom of it. Maybe now we have to go to the Chili Bowl since you brought it up. Hopefully, we can stay in the building and not get kicked out.
There's no guarantees. If you're doing your best work,
we'll try.
There's a good chance you won't see the end of the week, but you'll make it fun to watch. Chaz, Happy New Year. Thanks for stopping, man. Always good to chat with you.
Thank you so much. We'll catch you.
check all the Chaz stuff. Long live the Chaz. You can pick them up on YouTube and all the social media stuff. Not hard to find, that's for sure. Adam, it has been a crazy week in Oklahoma and going to be another one coming up next week. The sheer amount of entries makes it an epic event. And like we said, just if you ever wonder if dirt track racing's got a future, it's right there.
It's just they've got a week that nobody else is racing. The world is focused on it. They've marketed well. They stream it well. Like, they deliver it to the race fan well. And Alvers, I appreciate all the homework that you did, but I believe Trayton won at Berlin, not Owasso in ARCA.
All right. Where do we go from here? Got some pictures to look at. Action Sprint Tour got brought back yesterday, and I also want to talk about the Oshwegan Superfan Contest. Where do you want to go?
Yes. I want to talk about some of the dramatic things from the shootout that you've got screenshots of, but let's start with that, the Oshwegan Superfan.
Yeah, so throw that up, Spencer, if you can. The Oshwegan Superfan Contest is live. We're looking for Oshwegan's biggest fan. Submit your reels, your photos, and anything you need to do to demonstrate how you are Oshwegan's biggest fan, and get a part of that. I got to pull it up here. I thought we had there. So this is for the outgoing fans, the ones who love sharing race nights. Create a reel telling us and showing us why you should be crowned the Oshwegan Speedway 2026 Superfan. Superfan receives pit access for the year, a 2-seater ride, which we're bringing back this year, behind-the-scenes track tour, Oshwegan merch pack, all kinds of great stuff. So make sure you get on board. Let us know. Create a reel. Check out the website for all the details and tell us how you can be, or why you should be, Oshwegan's super fan. Along those same lines, Adam, we'll get this out of the way. Then we can talk about pictures and some of the other stuff we've captured. Action Sprint Tour was reignited last night. You can go back, find everything at actionsprinttour.com. It kicks off with an eight race schedule this year. Drivers now will have to race minimum 6 races, but the best 6 races are going to count for your points, with a 5-point bonus for each race attended. So the drivers that attend all races do have a bit of an advantage over the ones that pick and choose the 6. And we'll see how that goes. Again, we're not creating these events. These are all events that were put together already for the past 3 or 4 years in most instances, if not more. So we'll just string them together with a bit of a point fun and make it work. So we're excited to get that going. Once again, check out everything you want to find out there at actionsprinttour.com. Schedule, point fund, race payouts, rules, everything is up to date on the website. So check that out. Let's jump into some pictures. So you mentioned screenshots from the Tulsa shootout. Spencer, roll those pictures we sent in, and we'll just discuss them a little bit here. First day, Adam, out of the ballpark into a dumpster.
So
shitty start to your week.
It is a shitty start, but I want to open with, I love the event. I don't want to throw shade on it, Clint. I love what they do, but build a proper fence. There is no excuse for a car to clear the fence. How many times did they have to fix the damn fence through the week? I'll bet you it was 15, 20 times.
Yeah, kind of same beef I have with the dome race. You know, we're tearing it up. It's too many delays, but all right. We kind of got to keep moving here. We got a lot of stuff to get through. All right, next picture, Spencer. This is a good one, Adam. If you enter your kid in a race against adults and your kid intentionally wrecks a competitor over drives, he should be held the same consequences as any adult like getting knocked out. This is a crazy situation here, Adam. You got a lot of people frustrated. It's a long week. These are a lot of instances of young racers trying to figure out their craft, racing in some instances against adults. There's a lot of action at the top of the ramp, the shootout last week. It kind of ties in with the other one, Spencer, the next photo, I think, which is you kind of never know what you're getting in the shootout. It's a Russian roulette when you get in a fight there.
Yeah. How did it come to be that Brexton Bush can race in the same race as Kyle Busch? Like a 10-year-old with adults. I thought that's really, like, why do you have 6 different divisions if you could be 10 years old and run in the main class?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Throw that back up quick, Spence. So, yeah, I thought this was a good post, Adam. You know, it's Russian roulette if you get in a fight at the Tulsa shootout. You don't know if you're punching a 12-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 62-year-old, or a woman. May the odds be in your favor. Yeah, it's just, we saw a few people get marched right out of the building. Even the kids swinging a helmet, it is a bit chaotic.
I'll tell you what, some of those pit crews have enormous individuals on them. Like you could see there was designated fighters for some of these teams because that was not the driver and it was not the dad.
I told you the first NASCAR race we did at Jukasa back in the day, and someone got knocked out of the way, and I'm like, what? I'm bringing a gang every week, and I suck, and I'll knock everybody out of the way, and we'll fight our way back to Hammertown every week. I couldn't believe they let that go. But yeah, I know some teams with designated fighters, for sure. All right, what's next, Spencer? So this is just, fun stuff. The driver comments. Tried to make something happen means the car was going fast to me. The track sucked means we missed the setup. And so on and so forth. There were some good, as it says, tidbits coming out of Tulsa this week.
I love our shit's junked. Translation. It was already junk, but I crashed it again.
Our hats off to my guys equals someone else did all the work.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anything else from the Tulsa shootout, Spencer, in that file we dropped? Yeah, so obviously we talked about Jet Yantis being disqualified for engine violation. Frank Flood, second place driver, was awarded the winner after everybody left.
So they asked all of the kid racers on a couple of the days who their favorite driver was. And did you see they asked the one young female racer, who's your favorite driver? Well, people are saying Kyle Larson and whatever. She said Frank Flood, which is who was just in that picture. And then they connected Frank Flood with the young girl, and they had a long conversation. And moments like that is where I think Flo does a really good job. They did a really good job on that week to capture some of the stories.
Yeah, for sure. I did catch that. That was kind of cool. What else, Spence? That's it for the Tulsa, I think, isn't it? Chili Bowl pictures. There weren't too many. Anything else you want to talk about but the Tulsa shootout, Adam?
No, but I do want to thank people for the kind comments. Some for the mean comments. I want to thank you for all the comments and the congratulations on getting to 300. Link, you were the pit bull on those race teams.
Is the rumor true that Adam is turning into an iRacing Xfinity god? Really? You've been iRacing a lot, eh?
I have been, but I don't know who that is, so.
I miss Blacktop Rivals. That was fun.
We had some good times. It wasn't worth the frustration, which is why we don't still do it, but there was some fun, and yeah.
I should be setting up my rig, but still sitting over there collecting dust. All right, Chili Bowl coming up next week. Let's check that one out. Cool. Only a couple pictures. I think I only had the picture of bosses. Glenn's hooked up with the Swindell camp this year. I'm told. At least that's what I'm hearing. There it was before they showed the final picture of today. That's some of the bosses' ride going to be down there. It's a gorgeous looking midget. Oh my goodness! But that kicks off next week, so we're excited about that. Move-in starts Friday for Chili Bowl. How about this? Tanner Thorson. This was cool. I was starting to try to figure out if these pictures were AI for a bit, but it turns out they appear to be totally real. What a cool setup. Show a couple of these other pictures of this ride. That's like badass, man. It's like I want that for my desk in a die cast. I think that's super awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'd play with them every day. I love it. I think that's wicked. So Tanner Thorson showing a bit of style rolling into the Chili Bowl. Obviously, they'll have a massive enclosed trailer there, but this will bring the one car in by the looks of it. Super awesome.
Did we capture the picture? Did we save the picture in the photo dump of all the cars in a row that had to be sold that week?
No, but I can get that to Spencer here shortly.
20,000, 20,000, 25,000.
Yeah.
And that's
crazy.
That's where Chaz was talking and some of the people on the broadcast were talking. It's not cheaper to go full-size sprint car racing, but you can make back a lot more money racing a full-size sprint car. Like there's potential to get decent.
Picture now. Send to the dump, Spence. And yeah, this is factory. I think it was. What was it? Factory 14.
Factory 14.
Yeah,
There's a
Factory
bunch of
14.
race
All their
teams.
cars set up. They're rolling in with like a rainbow of race cars, and they were all for sale. You could leave with them if you wanted to, which is wild. And they're all about 25 grand for a roller, which is again wild.
Yeah, no seat, no engine, no wiring. Nice looking
What
cars. They're
else?
beautiful pieces of work.
Where are we going from here? I think we're in the picture drop, right? Let's have some fun. Just random pictures that got sent in. Who knows what they are? Could be anything.
I feel like I'm getting set up.
No, I didn't send your cannonball picture. Or are experiencing technical difficulties, which is going to live on, I promise you that. Rockingham Speedway, bought up by IHRA. Adam, who is funding the IHRA? They're buying up everything lately.
It's the billionaire. It's the guy that does plumbing for Elon Musk.
Okay. That's your
Did you?
big...
Yeah, did I not send you those stories that he's a billionaire?
I
He's
read
doing
half the
good
shit you
things.
said. Okay. So, Adam's big story on why the IHRA is buying everything up because Elon's plumber has given them cash.
No, that's the guy. That's who owns it.
That's awesome.
Just
Maybe we
hang
have to dig
on.
into that a bit more. All right. What else,
You're
Spencer?
so uneducated.
How about this, Adam? Andy Brown from Hamilton, Ontario, played for Detroit and Pittsburgh as a goalie in the NHL. He was the last goalie to play without a mask in the NHL. And
Yep.
below Andy's summer job, he was a Speedway Park racer.
Yeah, he was a friend of my parents. And a big horse. Had a big horse farm down in Indiana. I think that's what he retired to. And I want to say he wasn't the first one to get $1 million contract, but there was something significant about the size of his contract.
I'll have to look into that one too. What else, Spence? Zardo boys are working on a hot rod. And look at the slope nose on this thing. That is going to be a gorgeous piece when it gets done. Lane Zardo shared that about a week or two ago. I just love the nose of that car.
Oh, that's
What else, Spence?
awesome.
I stumbled upon this today. Uncle Rick has his site, Dirt Racers News. Look for that on Facebook. They have a complete listing, and you can see which ones have been added and which ones are new and which ones are checked off. A complete listing of dirt track schedules for 2026. So I found that a good reference myself today. So check that out, Dirt Racers News. They've got a listing of all the schedules that have been put out. So in one spot, you can find out what you need. Cam says not going to see the finished auto carts in Motorama. That'd be a cool thing to see revealed. Here's an interesting comparison, Adam, when you look at, when people say, well, how can you afford to race? Why would you just blow your money on that? Well, race tires $180. Your friends will say, well, that's too expensive, but dinner out for $150, no problem. Engine parts, $1,200. Are you crazy? Well, vacation was $1,200. Was that worth it over 3 days?
No,
pit pass,
exactly.
$122. It's too much. A new pair of buckle jeans, $120 because you had to have it. I thought it was kind of an interesting comparison for the racers when they're explaining it to their non-racing friends.
So here's something interesting about Daryl Cuttle, who was the IHRA owner of Durana Hybrid, which provides industrial electromechanical solutions, heavy rigging, plant relocation. But what's interesting about it is his business philosophy. His companies are guided by the Native American Code of Ethics, emphasizing collaboration and shared knowledge.
I thought you were going to say his philosophy was go fast and sometimes turn left, but
No, but that would have been good. And Rob, I think you're thinking of Jimmy Howard, my friend. Jimmy Howard had a shop down on the beach strip. There's a mural on the side of it still.
Zardo car was hauled on Shrek Dog's truck. Okay. Took me a minute, Shrek, but I understood what you're saying there. All right. What else we got to look at, Spencer? This was a coloring book coloring sheet that was put up by Kistler engines. We always color cars on it, but look at all the different things to color on this engine. I thought that was. We need more technical stuff like that. I thought that was a cool coloring sheet. No. Maybe I'm just a
Listen,
kid at
because
heart.
it's the first show, because it's the first show of a new year, I'm going to say, yeah, that's a great find. But really, most engines I've seen are mostly gray. There's just a lot of gray.
We need a coloring contest then, and I'll show you what a real engine should look like.
All right.
Gray. I'm looking at that. I'm seeing carbon fiber. I'm seeing, red or blue spark plug wires. I'm seeing chrome or aluminum headers. I see all kinds of colors there. Blue
Sure.
braided hoses. What are you talking about? You're
The
an old
hoses
miser.
aren't blue.
I thought I thought I was the old. You can get colors in every hoses in every color. You hoser.
Tell me more about your hose.
No,
Just gonna leave
not
that
allowed to.
lingering.
All right, next. Baps Motor Speedway in Pennsylvania for New Year's Eve did a sprint car drop. I don't think they dropped it, but I believe it was either raised or slowly lowered as they got towards midnight. Had a New Year's Eve party at the Speedway, which is kind of an interesting thought. Looks like it's about to get body slammed, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out what the significance was, but okay.
Yeah, not my party. Just reporting on it. All right, next. Fran the man. Kenny Hangar. Kenny lost Kenny about a month or two ago here. Kenny and Fran. Look at that shirt on Fran. And I
What
guarantee he still
vintage
got
is
that
that?
hat.
That would have to be
Ooh.
1990.
I'm thinking no, that's before 90. I'm thinking like 87. Fran, tell us where
Okay.
we are with that shirt. No.
Yeah, Kenny
All right,
does look
let's move
cool.
on.
Yeah.
Cool setup back in the day, like this post said. If you didn't build it, you didn't have it. This is Stan Friesen setup. Ramp truck with single axle. 94. Shirt came from Hawaii, Francis. All right, so we were way off. You were closer there, Adam. I love this. Coach, a coupe, a ramp truck, single axle trailer. Pure badassery back in the day.
Yep.
That was the hot setup for sure. What else, Spence? We talked about this. This probably should have been sent in with the other group. Jet
Yeah, but you know
Yantis
what?
won the big race, the shootout. And
What did he lose? He crossed the line first. He stood in victory lane in front of a cheering crowd. Right now, I'm sure personally he's really upset. But in the grand scheme of things, most people think he won Tulsa. People in the industry might see that he got disqualified, but most people would realize, even though it's his responsibility, he didn't know what was in the bearings of that transmission.
yeah, I think if he lost, that's what it is. A lot of people aren't going to really hold it to reputation, but he's still going to have to spend at least a certain percentage of time defending his honor going forward, because there's always going to be haters and people who are never going to believe it anyways. It's tough for these kids because I have a hard time believing he built the motor and actually knew what was in it. But
Right.
shit happens. You got to pass tech. What else, Spence? You know what this is, Adam?
No.
This is the ball of tape. So they have only a certain number of transponders, but with like over 1,200 entries, they're switching transponders all day long. So by the end of the weekend, this is all the tape that's taken off the cars and the transponders. That's how many transponders they had to tape on and off cars throughout the week. I thought that was kind of a stupid but interesting accumulation, if you will. That's a lot of transponder tape to be put on and off of cars all week long.
2,000
Right,
entries.
moving on. Yeah. We still talk about it. People bitch. Why do we have to pay to go in the races? We'll become an four-wheel drive. We talked about it before. Karting costs $50 to $100K per year. Then you get an F4. Talks about the basic entry fee for F1 is 11,000, but you have to pay an extra 2,000 for each point you've earned. So it can cost a Formula One driver between $5 million and $15 million in entry fees for the year, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, but keep in mind, the driver's not paying that. At the top of that list, at the start where it talks about karting costs, okay, the driver or their family is paying that. Once you get to the end point, the team is paying it, but it's insane. I was in, I had to go to the London Cal Tire store before Christmas. And I don't know if we talked about this, but I bumped into Scott Mackey, who was a longtime go-kart racer and Delaware Speedway official. And then Brad Graham walked in and we sat there shooting the shit, but just talking about the old days of karting and how much racing you could do with very little money. It was awesome.
Oh, for sure. I think the point of that is, though, if you look at, the drivers are earning millions, but can you imagine, the Buffalo Bills having to pay $15 million to put Josh Allen on the field, or the Edmonton Oilers have to pay $12 million to let Conor McGregor skate? It's kind of wild when you think about it like that.
Yeah,
it's just the way the system goes, though. Show us what else, Spencer. We've got to getting down to the skis here. Art Arfon. This would have been a world speed record, I think. Peter Turford shared this. And just look at the balls. Yeah. Okay? Those tires look bald as shit. It looks like you're in a roller coaster cart. And then you've got just one massive jet engine strapped to your back on a couple of 4x4 rails. Look at the radius rods. They look like they're stamped out of tin, holding the rear end together like insanity.
Well, the tires aren't really doing much. Like, by the time you get a jet engine and that thing up to speed, it's going straight. Like, the tires just kind of hold it up. But
you hope.
What do they call those awards? The Darwin Awards?
Yeah, probably.
That was the first winner.
Fran said he saw a version of that car at the New York World's Fair in 1963. Interesting. Two more pictures.
A lot of people don't know it, but Fran's 92 years old.
Show us, Spence. You know where that is, Adam? Well, it says it right there on the picture.
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed that, but look at the crowd. And Doug Erskine mentioned it at the start of the show. But these days were before social media, where you actually had to attend events if you wanted to remember them, right? Like, if you had to experience it. You couldn't just see it in a tweet and pretend you experienced it.
It's a good way to put it. As people have gotten into other things and done other, gotten other interests, where back in the day you had movies or the races maybe were your choices in your town. Now you got so many different other things you could do. Is streaming kind of keeping people interested in saving the sport, or is allowing them to stay home and crushing the sport? That's the question. I feel it's the first part of that, where we're trying to bring people back, or at least we keep them reconnected. I had a sponsor I had to talk to today, and I was dealing with them, and one of them was very sick last summer, and they got to watch the entire season of Oshweekend from the hospital bed. And of course, that's not our intentions, but I was talking like Morristown. Like, that's super cool that,
yes,
our situation allowed that to go on. And we've gotten that a few measures. Hey, my mom's sick. I haven't missed a night in 30 years, but I feel like I didn't have to miss being with mom at the hospital. So those are cool stories and kind of try and keep everybody connected.
You know what we don't have at the Speedway that I really like? I've been watching a lot of YouTube videos, and like, people will be at concerts or different events, and they'll have their phone out filming it. So instead of experiencing it, you're looking at it through your phone. How many people go back and watch those videos later? Put your phone in your pocket and look at it. Take it in, smell it, see it. Like remember it that way. Don't look at a tiny little screen on your smartphone and, like, does anybody watch that shit afterwards?
I can say that I've been guilty of pulling out my phone at a concert or something like that, but it was never to record it to relive it later. It was, if anything, was ever to do a like a quick Facebook Live, be like, holy crap, look at this crowd we're in the middle of, or something like that. But I've never gone back and watched a video after the fact. You know, when you watch them,
weird.
2 years later, when you're trying to delete, get space on your phone, get rid of videos you never looked at.
You're not wrong.
One more picture. What is it? You know what this was, Adam?
No.
Someone's tire got slashed.
Wow. Wow.
Sorry.
That's a good one to close on.
Spencer had the rhythm tonight. He put the good or slash.
Yeah.
I thought that was a stupid joke, but I happen to be the punniest dad around, if you ask my kids. So yeah, we love the puns. We made it 300 shows. It did look like Howardstern. We appreciate everybody hanging out with us. It's always good. Make sure you check out Cam's show on Mondays too. Man, we're back to it, Adam. I feel like I got back from my Christmas vacation there, and we have been uphill running ever since. Everybody asked about the Ash Weekend schedule. We finalized all the events this week. We're finalizing all sponsors in the next 40 hours, and we should have a graphic out start to mid of next week. We will be releasing the Ash Weekend schedule. So excited with that. We got some cool events coming up, and excited to talk about it next week.
Every day's getting a little bit longer. Season's getting closer every day. Winter solstice, that's a big day in my year, Clinton. Same reason I get sad on June 20th. I get pumped up, or June 21st. I get pretty pumped up on December 21st because days are getting longer.
Cam says they're going to make now on the show 600. There's no way we're making it to 600. I barely made it to 285 this year.
Yeah, you've been grumbly, but we'll figure it out. Who else is going to do it? What else are you going to do? It's
see, if Greg wasn't too busy running Weaver Valley Speedway, he could just take my spot. You and him could fight all year long. And I'll just jump in from the pits like once every few weeks. Like, hey, yeah, something happened over here. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, but
I don't think I'm getting off the hook that easy.
No, things have to be done the Clinton way. So even if you weren't on the show, you'd be watching it. You'd be making sure things get done a certain way. It's all under your umbrella.
We had this talk. I would be Adam Ross in that regard, meaning I would never watch nothing. Watch me strut away, and you guys could die on the air, and someone would have to send me a telegram because I would not know.
We've never gone less than an hour. I don't think. We have frequently gone over an hour. That is 300 plus hours of content, and I have not watched 40 minutes of it.
I want that on a shirt. We never go less than an hour. It'd be awesome to wear around and strut in the sun. We're all proud.
But we appreciate. I love it that people watch. We appreciate you being here. I don't need to watch it back. Sometimes if I said something really dumb, or if someone calls me out, like, did I really say that?
I'm gonna be happy this year. I promise. I got provoked into some anger on the 4th of January, and after that, I'm going to be good for the rest of the year. You know what I think is awesome?
What's awesome?
I think it's awesome that Decker knows when the show's winding down every week. He is silent until like 9:10, and he's like, all right, boys, I need to piss. Let's go. Shut up and let's go.
Did you hear your name? Come here, bud.
Yeah, he knows. Hey, Decker. All right, we'll let you go. We appreciate everybody hanging around. We will be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. as always to carry the sport forward. We appreciate all the comments. 300 in the books. Hang around. Let us know who you want to see. We're always looking for new guests and new people to talk to in the sport. Thanks, Adam, for being with us here tonight. Thank you, Spencer, for everything you do. Anything you want to say?
Nope. Happy New Year. Thanks for being here. See you next time.